Welcome to the At Leisure Podcast. This is a show about sports, video games, movies, and just basically the things we do with our leisure time. My name is Brett, and I'm here with Spencer once again to talk about the second season of Andor. As promised, welcome back.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Can you believe it's been around 3 years since we recorded the podcast for the first season?
Dude, is it really?
Yeah. Oh, isn't that insane?
I was thinking it was like a year ago.
Yeah, time is flying. But hey, this time we're adding a familiar voice who's talked about Star Wars on the podcast many times. Jeff, glad to have you back.
Thank you. Welcome. Can you believe no Borg Gullet in season 2?
Yeah, what's that about? We're going to have no background on that tentacle monster thing.
Yeah, anyways, glad to be here, though.
Still my least favorite part of Rogue One, I think, on the rewatch. All right, so everyone, I'll put time codes below just so you can jump to topics, but this will be a spoiler-heavy episode for Andor Season 2, and we're just going to jump into it. So you've been warned. Go watch the show. It's incredible. I mean, you're not going to get a bunch of varying opinions here or anywhere. This is just literally one of the best TV shows ever made. So go do yourself a favor and watch it, and then come back and listen to us talk about it. Now that we've had some time to digest the show, what are some overall feelings we have about it? What are some thoughts?
I think overall it's better than the first season in like a critical way, but I think I slightly enjoyed the first season more consistently. I think the ending, obviously, this one gets to pay off the first season and the second season, which makes it really great. But I think as a whole, I enjoyed the first one just a little bit more.
Okay, well, we're starting off with the negatives, but I agree with you that I do think I enjoyed the first season a little more. Maybe it was the shock value of it, because the whole time you're watching the first season, you're like, there's no way Star Wars has made something this spectacularly good. You know, we've been watching a bunch of slop for so long that it was like, holy cow, this is a real show. This is like really good writing, really good everything. The second season had so much expectation for me because of how much I loved the first season that it was going to be really hard to live up to it, and it nearly did. I really loved this season. Like, starting off saying it's a little worse than the first season, I think we're in the minority there because people absolutely love this season.
I think I liked it better.
There we go. Okay, talk about it.
I don't know. I watched them. I watched season 1 again, like rewatch, and then jumped right into season 2, and then I watched Rogue One immediately after. So I got pretty much the full experience,
which is what you got to do.
Yeah, Andor, Rogue One, whatever. There needs to be a name for the like trilogy almost. We'll call it the Rogue One trilogy or something.
Yeah.
But I really liked how season 2, like each block of 3 episodes was like jumped a year forward in time. And season 1, I mean, it was all kind of at one time. It felt like I don't know if it actually was.
I think the biggest jump in time was like the prison time, because he was supposed to be in prison for a while. Yeah, but the rest of it, it felt very back to back. Yeah, no, the jumping year between sections, what do you call it? Like, it was the way that they drop it too was just like Andor in the first season, where it was like first 3 episodes, next 3 episodes, next 3 episodes, and so it was split up into like 4 chunks again. And in between those 4 chunks, it would jump a year, which was a brilliant way, I think, to get us to Rogue One on the timeline. So yeah, I really appreciated that too.
And yeah, to be fair, I wasn't trying to be critical. It's like a 9.5 in my head, and the first season's like a 9.6. So that's yeah. They're still crazy good. Yeah,
it is funny that was your first thought, is like, well, it kind of sucked compared to the first one. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, you're right. It's almost just even. Like, you watch it all together, and you wouldn't know it was on at 2 different times.
It elevates a movie too. Like, there's nothing else I can think of that elevates a movie so much. Like, when you watch Rogue One, it feels like season 3 of Andor. Even though Jyn is kind of the main character of that movie, when you watch it now, it's like, okay, but I'm really here for Cassian and his part in the rebellion. And then the Rogue One ending was already one of my favorite parts of Star Wars, but to watch it now, it's just like, it is so good. That third act of Rogue One is like some of the best movie TV I've ever seen. It's so good.
And man, it
pays off so
much more emotional this time watching Rogue One than the initial time. And it's still, I mean, it was emotional then too. Oh, it's so good.
So good.
Dude, I wonder what the percentage of people that finished the Andor season 2 went immediately to watching Rogue One, because I definitely did that too. Instantly.
Well, it pops up. It's like, hey, you want to watch Rogue One now? Yeah. And everyone's like, yeah, I think so. Yeah, let me do it. You know,
and Rogue One does feel like Act 3 of a movie. You know, because it's Rogue One's so fast paced. I did not realize how fast paced it was until watching it after Andor, because Andor is a slow burn. I feel like
Well,
Rogue One was super fast paced, which is
I
great.
think that's just movies in general too. Because when you're
Yeah.
watching a show, there has so much time to breathe, and then you go to the movie and you're like, "Man, I almost want more time with these Rogue One characters," because you get
Yeah.
it in the television shows with all their like, their heist group or their rebel groups. But here it was just like quick, bang, bang, bang. This isn't quite a Rogue One podcast, but man, we could talk about Rogue One too. I love that movie, and it's
It's gonna
crazy.
be hard to not.
Yeah,
Because this just leads right into Rogue
yeah,
One.
no, 100%. And thinking too, like some of my general thoughts is like we give Kathleen Kennedy crap for all the crap that Disney has put out, but she pushed for this show, and I feel like we got to give her props for that. Because like
actually,
she pushed for it. Yeah. Tony Gilroy said, I was saying I have to have live sets. I have to have all these things. I have to have the money for this, and I have to be able to open it in a brothel, and Andor's going to have to be able to shoot 2 cops to start this whole thing off. And she's like, well, yeah, whatever you need, I'll support you. And so I have criticized her a lot because I don't think the directions have gone very well. Yes. But this was a win for her. Like, this is incredible stuff. And part of it, she greenlit Rogue One too. And even though that had its problems, it ended up being a movie that I really enjoy. And it's so disappointing to think about how she started so strong with Force Awakens, Rogue One, Mandalorian, and then it just kind of has fallen off since then. But this is incredible, and so I give her props for that. Another thing Tony Gilroy talked about, I'm surprised you didn't know that, Spencer, because I think I got some of this from that podcast you sent me about.
Yeah, I did.
Like his interview. Okay.
I never got
around to sending me stuff you didn't finish.
Yes, dude.
Okay, well, I was eating it up, and
honestly, I just forgot about it.
Another
I
thing,
about half of it, and then just forgot.
Yeah, well, it's good. I love listening to Tony Gilroy talk because he talks about how he's not like he said he's not like a Star Wars fan in the sense of like he doesn't know the lore, doesn't know all that stuff, but he really had a lot of respect for George Lucas and what he created. And even though he wasn't a fan, he wanted to like make his imprint on this. And he said Lucas called him afterwards and said, "Hey, really good job." And he's like, "Yeah, that was awesome. What a good thing to hear," cool. Even though he's like not even a Star Wars fan.
I mean, he may not know the lore, but he says that he really tries to stick to the lore and not like mess things up as far as like the visual movie TV canon.
Right. He respects it. And that's something I cannot say for a lot of the television shows that have been made. And so it's like, hey, even if he's not a Star Wars fan per se, like he definitely valued Star Wars enough when he made this show to really put his mark on it. And it's funny because they said originally they pitched the series to him as a buddy adventure show with Andor and K2SO. And he's like, guys, there's really just not much there. Like it's gonna get stale real quick. Instead, how about I do the show where we show Andor's arc from where he was to how he is in Rogue One. And he brought him the scripts and stuff. And they're like, yeah, this is incredible. So we got to do this. And I just think props to them finally coming through.
I will say, I wish there would have been a little bit more. I wish K2 would have come in earlier in season 2. Yeah. I love that character, and I would have loved his interactions with Cassian and other people a little more.
Yeah.
But we did get some good chunk of that in the last 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he didn't totally disregard it.
Yeah, I was worried towards the end. I was like, I'm not going to see him till the last episode. I'm going to be upset.
Another thing Tony said was that they had a whole episode dedicated to K2SO that they had to cut because it was so expensive. And it was going to be dedicated to him and his time as an Imperial droid. But because he is just like pure CG and everything that involves him just increases the budget, they took it out. And I feel like you can kind of feel that because his intro is kind of underwhelming for how important he is to Andor and Rogue One in general. At least I thought, because he just gets hit and it's like Andor has like an idea of like, hey, let's just take this droid. It's like, is that something y'all do? Like what prompted that?
Yeah.
But it's still a great character. I'm sure we'll talk more about him later. Another thing I think about the show, just like the first season, The worlds are so fully realized. There's like full cultures. Literally, Gorman has its own language. They invented a language that they're speaking. And I'm like, is this French? What is this? And I look it up and it's like, no, this is just a made up language they have. It's incredible to me. I don't know.
It's definitely based on
French.
so.
Yeah, it was definitely based. So, I mean, if it's not French, it's crazy to me that they would just make up a language. Why not just have them speak French, I guess?
True. I will say the sets that they're making, they're so big and like detailed that it feels like Star Wars, but it's still the whole point of the show is like it's grounded and it's not just like a CG fest everywhere. Like they actually live in these areas and stuff. I really did enjoy the physical aspect of everything of Andor.
Just like the first season, it just really makes the volume look so shabby.
Yes. Acting is still killer.
Yes. And the writing's even better too. It's just
yes,
the acting's great, but the writing just elevates everything.
I don't know. The acting is phenomenal.
It's so good.
None of them are bad.
None. Yeah.
Yeah. Literally, I was like, there wasn't even like one actor. I was like, ooh, that was cringe. Not one time.
Even the replacement for Jimmy Smith, Bail Organa.
Oh yeah, he was good too.
What's his name? Ben.
Yeah.
He felt just like Bail to me. I mean, he did an incredible job.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the specific character later, but Mon Mothma is probably my favorite character on this whole show.
She's so good. She's so good. She steals us that first arc. I think she steals that first arc so much. Like I wanted the camera to stay on her the whole time and not cut to the others in that first arc. But yeah, and honestly, we can make the show just like go down the list of all the characters and their actors and be like, hey, you did a great job. You did a great job. You did a great job. Incredible stuff.
Luthen, I think anytime he was on camera, he stole the.
Oh man, for sure,
100%.
Stole the show
for sure. And I think that's part of why I like the first season a little more though, because Luthen had so much to do in the first season, and I feel like he had some to do in this one, but it wasn't quite as focused on him, which is fine because it's an Andor show. So I think we got actually more Andor in this, even though there were some episodes where he wasn't even in it, which is crazy. But
yeah.
Also, the Kleya girl, it was like her first.
Dude.
Like big role.
Yeah, she killed it. She was good.
Yeah, she was my second favorite. Like she came out of nowhere for me.
Yeah,
nowhere.
The first season, I was like, I want more of her. She's cool. And then the second, this season gives her way more time. Like, yes, she's freaking. She's a baller like Luthen, dude.
I love how much Empire we get in this show. It is just always a bigger fish kind of thing of like Syril, then Dedra, then Partagaz, then Krennic, kind of just like dog eat dog kind of thing, but also so organized and like on the brink of collapse at all times because they're eating each other, but so much more organized in the rebellion, which you have like a stark contrast to of like the rebellion is just in splinter factions everywhere. There's no unity. People are also eating each other alive a little bit. It's just really cool to see both sides so deeply. I feel like there's no sugarcoating either side, which is something that you get in like the movies, I think, where they're sugarcoated more.
Mm-hmm. And in that, I love how menacing the stormtroopers are. Like in every other Star Wars, they're just like fodder. But when they show up in Andor, you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Like it's about to go down.
It is still funny to me how useless their armor is. I never understand it. Like, why is their armor so crap? Why are they wearing it if it's so awful? Still hilarious, but also, yeah, I agree that they're more menacing. Even though some of the times they take their helmet off and you're like, oh yeah, they're just like grunts. What were some of y'all's favorite moments or moment in this show? Because there's a bunch to choose from.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch. That's a tough question. I think it's probably a lot of people's, but the tension that my body was experiencing when Luthen's meeting with his spy from the inside and he's like panicking and he spills the beans about there being like these plans that's just like world destroyer plans or whatever, and he's like sitting on that park bench.
Yeah, you're talking about with Lonnie, right?
Yeah. Kind of at the last 3 episodes.
The last arc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a great scene. I'm shocked that's the first one you go to, but yeah, fantastic scene.
Oh, really?
Yeah, let's break it down because I agree. I loved that. And it's like the idea of them learning about the Death Star is so fascinating.
And I know like the massacre and everything is what a lot of people will. Yeah.
That's what I thought you were going to.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. But in my head, it's like I'm still trying to figure out the connection to Rogue One, and so like that becoming like I feel like that's the scene where like the starting gun on a track meet or something hits, and that's where everything just starts like picking up a whole bunch.
Mm-hmm.
And because you don't know, he's neither of them are going to be in Rogue One, but you don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you don't know how those plans get transferred, whatever. So I don't know. I just felt like the tension in that was the highest, and then the sad part of him being killed once he reveals it, and he just gets left there. Like, it's brutal.
That was brutal. I was not expecting him. I was like, okay, he's gonna make it to Yavin. Let's go.
Yeah,
Nope.
exactly.
When they shot to the dog and the dog finds him on the park bench, you're just like,
No, I thought it was the loth cat.
Yeah, or whatever it is. Yeah. You're just like, but I'll be honest with you, I did see that coming. When he's talking to, because you're like, it has to be done. He is the link that connects Luthen to everything. No, he cannot survive. And even killing Lonnie protects his family, because then they have no reason to go after his family anymore.
Yeah.
And I love how even when he's talking to him, he's still like trying to. So he tells him about Yavin, and he tells him just to see his reaction. Because it's like, if he knows Yavin, then that means the Empire knows Yavin. But he says, what? Where's Yavin? And then he's like, okay, I can shoot this guy, and Yavin is safe from the Empire. And you're just like, that guy's so twisted thinking about this stuff. While he's bold-faced lying to this guy, like, yeah, I got your back. I'm going to keep you safe. Just tell me everything that you've got left before I off you. It's just crazy. Great scene. But I will say, that's like third or fourth on the tension level for me in this show.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I thought the Gorman massacre stuff was more like a tragic, tense. Like, it wasn't as tense. It's more like tragic because you could see it coming, because it was all planned by the Empire, and you're just watching them go to their demise, essentially.
Yeah,
that was more of a tragedy for me.
I agree. That wasn't really tense. It was more like, okay, here's the tragedy we've been building up to. And it was pretty tragic, but I think the most tense was, it was when they were in the art room.
Yes, that was the first one for me. Yeah.
I'll explain that a little bit.
Yeah.
They're trying to remove this bug from an art piece that's in, who was it? Skolden. It was in Skolden's art room, but Krennic is there. And it's just like, the intensity in that scene was like, I felt it in my house, and I was just watching it by myself. It was crazy.
She's like bleeding, trying to get the thing to turn. And she's like telling him like, hey, here's all the things you're going to have to recite back to me so that it sounds like we've been having a real conversation about this art piece, and nothing seems sketchy. And it feels like this is the first time you're ever meeting me, and this is the first time I'm ever meeting you, kind of thing. And so she's like telling him, and he's like, you're crazy. We need to leave. We've got to go. You know that these characters don't make it, and it feels like this is the moment that it's going to happen.
100%.
And that's why it's so tense. It was awesome.
Like, this is where they could find out literally everything.
Yes. They're all in the same room, which is so great.
Yeah. He keeps trying to bail on her, and she has to like rein him in like 2 or 3 times. And she's like, get your crap together, dude. You have to stick this out.
And it's like, then you see why Lonnie's so good at what he does, because when they get there, he's cool as a cucumber, and he recites back all the things that she'd been telling him the whole time.
Yeah.
But he's panicking the whole time before that. So you're not feeling confident in him. Crazy, too, that's the end of an arc. That's what the buildup was, too. And that's what makes the show so great. It's like, there was no explosions. There was no, I don't know. They saved that for Gorman. And this was like a very clean, tense-filled ending to an arc.
So what's yours, Brett?
Mine is for sure the Gorman Massacre, because episode 8 is just like, I say my favorite moment is just my favorite episode, which is everyone's favorite episode. I think I don't know. Did I say it in the first part on my general thoughts? But Andor season 2 is the first TV series to have 5 consecutive episodes rated 9.5 or higher on the IMDb scale, and episode 8 is the 3rd highest rated TV show ever.
That's
behind
crazy.
Breaking Bad?
Yeah, Breaking Bad. I can't remember the other one, but they're really critically acclaimed shows too. It's just like, this show is so good. Everyone's favorite episode was episode 8 though, because the Gorman Massacre is like something they build up to, and even in like Rebels they talk about it. So this is like a big event in Star Wars canon, and Legends also had a Gorman Massacre. They kind of talk about it a little bit too, with like Tarkin crushing all those people with his Star Destroyer. Then they build that monument, which then this second massacre happens around the monument. It all starts too with that Imperial they send in, who's just an absolute evil dude. He's like, yeah, this is my job. I incite insurrection so that we can stomp it out. Like, I know how to do this.
Yeah.
And as soon as he lands, like y'all are saying there was no tension, but for me, it was like dread tension. You're like, oh my gosh, this is about to go down. I'm excited about it in a like a kind of a twisted way of like, man, I cannot wait to see the Empire be evil. Like,
Well,
this is going to be crazy.
I think there's an incredible tension for like the characters around that scene and in that scene, but as a viewer, it was like, oh, you know exactly what's gonna happen.
I still was feeling it in my chest of like, oh, dude, this is so tense, and like you mounting dread the whole episode. They bring in those green recruits, and you're like, I know immediately, like they are going to send them out into the fray to try to incite rebellion. And the guy's like, are we gonna have a problem with the sergeant? And the sergeant's like, there's not a man in my group here. Like, what are we doing? We've got a bunch of boys coming in to try to fight back against this rebellion. And then they move the barricades so that they know, like, oh, all the people are going to swarm to this one area to protest. It's all just like a manipulation by the Empire. And then they do start the riot, and then they start singing. And all I could think of was in Pirates of the Caribbean. Y'all know what line I'm talking about? Where the pirates start singing, and the Imperials in that movie say, finally. And it's because they believe they finally pushed them into like a defiant hopelessness, of like, all right, they've cracked. Like they know this is the end. But in this movie, it was kind of used as like a counter to the violence. They're like, hey, if we can just be peaceful here, the Empire will have no reason. They will have no justification to shoot us. And then instead, the Empire just shoots themselves so that it looks like they shot them. And the crap hits the fan. It's so violent without having any blood. I was just like, this is like visceral fighting. The K2SO bots come in and they just absolutely backhand people to their deaths. I'm just like, whoa, so much intensity. I mean, I was blown away that whole episode. I was just like, wow, this is awesome. I mean, terrible, but awesome.
Yeah. Kind of speaking on like the manipulation of the whole situation. I didn't notice this, so I saw someone talking about it. Because you know how they're trying to manipulate the universe or the galaxies around or whatever. Gormans, these stuck-up snobs, and they're rebellious and everything.
Yeah.
If you, on one of those TV screens, early on in the first act, the 3 movies, they show Gorman, and they show the city center, but they don't show the memorial. They have edited it out of the video.
Oh.
And so
Like
they're
on
showing
the
Gorman,
so
like,
people
advertising
don't
it.
like on the TV shit that the news that the Coruscant people on Coruscant or wherever are watching.
Yeah, in the first act,
Okay.
you don't see it at the memorial. You just see the city center. You don't see the memorial. But
That's
then
genius.
when Andor visits there, you can see the memorial. So they
That's
don't want to
genius.
encourage or
They don't want people asking questions.
yes, yeah.
That's so
That's
genius.
such a small detail. That's crazy.
It's cool too because they talk about how much they're going to manipulate the media to where when they do finally commit genocide, it almost feels justified.
Yeah,
which is just
and you see
kind
that
of scary to think about, honestly.
Because doesn't Cyril's mom at the beginning like kind of like that place, and then by the end of the show, she's like talking crap about it just because she's been manipulated by the news.
Yeah, because she wants them to get off of there, get off of the world
because of how much crap they're perpetuating.
Yeah.
Again, in that interview with Tony, he talks about how much influence he has on real life revolution, and he studied like how governments manipulate their population and how a rebellion it rises and how it's always like splintered in faction. Then it has to have like moments that bring them together. And really, I think just the Death Star does that for the rebels in Star Wars. Any other favorite moments before we just start talking about like maybe characters?
Man, it's hard to choose a specific favorite moment because I like so many points for the show. I do really love K2. And so a couple of scenes with him, one when they're sitting in Yavin and they're just playing cards or whatever game that is. He can't comprehend the lies and deceit that the human will do, the bluffs. That was a great scene. And then when they're back on Coruscant in that hidey hole house that they had, or when Cassian and they're going to rescue Kleya, or what they think is Luthen, but it's Kleya. And K2 goes in to save them. He just backhands that Imperial off the bridge. He used the guy as a meat shield in the
Yeah.
hall. Oh, it was such a good.
Yeah.
I just love those scenes.
It's so funny too because it's like he's doing that. He doesn't have to do that. He's basically bulletproof, but he's like, yeah, this guy sucks. I'm using him as a meat shield.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that if I had that much hate for that Imperial to be like cheering when that happened. I was like, geez, Louise, that guy is, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But he joins the ranks in the great hallway scenes in Star Wars that Disney has like really perpetuated.
Yes.
You know, you've got Darth Vader's hallway scene, you've got Luke Skywalker's in Mandalorian episode 2 or season 2, and then you've got like Maul's in the final season of Clone Wars, and now you got K2SO.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I didn't even pay attention to that. That's funny.
I mean, who doesn't love a good hallway scene?
Yeah, for real. You know, just mowing down folks.
There really is like so many good scenes. It's hard to like just pick. So I think if we just go through each character has so many good moments.
Oh, for sure.
To talk about. So.
I will say one more to bring up before we just go to that is I thought the writing was firing on all cylinders when Dedra finally meets Luthen, when Luthen's burning the evidence and Dedra comes into the front door and you're like, is this it? You're slowly realizing like, this is the end. This is it. She's found him. And she leads in with like, is everything in here real? And he says, well, there's 2 pieces here that we're not sure of their authenticity. And it's like, he's talking about them, you know, it's like double meaning in his words when they're talking and they're both like trying to be cagey with each other. And then she finally like turns on him. Well, what does he say? He says like, you're too late. The rebellion isn't here anymore. It's flown away. And she's like, you disgust me. And he's like, well, there's a whole galaxy just waiting to disgust you. And I'm just like, oh, let's go.
That's a good
and
line.
then it's a good line. And then you're like, okay, how's he getting out of this? I think he's dead, but how is he going to die? And he stabs himself to like, you know, keep the rebellion safe and all his knowledge where they can't take it. And then it occurs to you like, oh, Dedra screwed this up. She's been so competent this whole season, but she screws this up so badly that it eventually leads to the downfall of the Empire because of her hubris. And it's like, she is a reflection of just the Empire in general, of how cocky they all are, how much like, you know, Andor even says it at the beginning. They're like, they don't even comprehend the idea that we could walk into the same floors as them. And so it's just really cool, like seeing her hubris get the best of her, even though Luthen's the one that dies in the end, you know? Yeah. So just really loved that scene. And it was another one where I was just feeling the tension. Oof. But all right. Y'all got anything to say on that before we just jump into characters? I want to start off with Cassian Andor. What y'all think how this show handled him?
Great.
Yeah,
great. Yep. Well, it's his show. Did he ever feel like overshadowed? I mean, I thought his leader arc is awesome over the 2 seasons of like seeing him like Tony intended of like, hey, here's a guy who only cares about himself and what is good for him, to a guy who is actually fully into the rebellion to the point of self-sacrifice. And you really get a lot of that in just the intro scenes of him being so competent, stealing that TIE fighter, even though he has no idea how to fly it and never panics. And he's hyping up that pilot so that she doesn't like flake on him, you know, and he like gives her a good speech and she's like, I needed that. And it's like, well, that pilot's probably going to die now. But he was like, I really need to make sure that I get out of here safely with this ship and complete my mission. So, you know, you see him have a little bit of Luthen in him there. And then he gets captured when he lands his ship. And the whole time never panics and is just telling the guys like, here's all the ways you're screwing up, guys. You a bunch of morons, a bunch of amateurs compared to me.
I loved in those episodes where they have him captive and he is watching them like the infighting that they're doing. And he's just like shaking his head like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
the rebellion
like
is in trouble.
Yeah. If I die here on this planet because of these morons. I thought that monster was going to be bigger, but it was just like a giant hog.
Yeah.
I was really hoping that thing was going to be really scary.
I thought with Andor, they did a good job of, like, he's the main character, but there were so many other good characters that at the same time, it didn't overshadow him. Like, they actually almost had the problem of there are too many good characters, but they did it in a way.
But he saw eye to eye with them.
Yes.
He was on their level.
Yeah.
Which is how you want all your stories to be, to where you have no weak characters.
Yeah.
You know, where we're not here saying like, golly, this person sucked.
It took me a little bit because I think when I was first watching it, I didn't like the character as much, but looking back on it, his love interest, what's her name? That's been
Bix.
tortured
Bix.
throughout both seasons.
Bix.
Yeah. Her like story is so sad. Like the whole
It's
first season, she's
tragic.
just being tortured. The
It's
second
tragic.
season, she just has PTSD constantly and nightmares. And then at the end, she's finally like able, like after the first arc where she's has to deal with that like attempted sexual assault or whatever, which is crazy in Star Wars.
Crazy.
But I think it made sense with the tone that the Andor series is. But her like having to make the decision for Andor to leave so he can become the leader he needs to be, I thought that redeemed her character so much.
You knew she wasn't going to die, because it's like she's been put through the ringer. There's no way they're going to kill this girl off after they've spent 2 seasons torturing this poor lady. Man, she had it so rough. There was a little bit of revenge satisfaction in her getting to kill that torture guy, because Luthen sets her up to do it. There's no build up to it. She just all of a sudden gets to kill him. It's crazy.
Yeah. Since we're talking about Bix a little bit, to me, she feels like the most real character. The stuff she goes through was like very real life stuff. Her PTSD, all the trauma she went through. And then at the end, the big surprise, she's a mother, probably with Cassian's child. And it's just like the full, I don't know,
Probably.
you see her full story.
He said probably. So she could be, she's a little promiscuous. Who knows?
Could be another Anakin, I don't know what happens in Star Wars.
No, I definitely is Andor's kid. Oh, man. Sorry, I interrupted you. What were you saying?
I don't know. Just that
Sorry.
she's such a good character and like connects you to the real world a little bit, maybe too much at times.
Yeah.
Her drug addiction, even. I mean, it was just all well thought out, well written.
I'm saying, man, she went through the ringer.
Yeah. And unlike a lot of the characters, most of the characters in the show, she actually has a good ending or happy ending.
Yeah.
It's a little sad, but it's like a happy ending.
Yeah.
She's not dying, unlike most of the cast.
And it's kind of cliche, but I felt like it was earned. You know, it was cliche to the point that I didn't expect it because of how cliche it is. I don't know about you guys, but when she turned around and she had the kid, I audibly gasped. I said,
"Me too."
No. Oh.
As I processed, I was like, "Oh, she has a kid. Oh, it's Cassian's. Oh, Cassian's about to die." Oh.
It's just bittersweet of like, hey, this is what he was fighting for, and now his legacy lives on, and his kid gets to see the future that he made. But it's still sad because it's like, he never even knew the kid, never knew he existed. Kind of tying it back to Andor. Thank goodness he didn't kiss Jyn in the Rogue One. that saved him from having to ride around that. That was the worst part of watching Rogue One again, is like they're definitely giving each other the googly eyes, Jyn and Cassian in that movie. Yeah. I'm like, get out of here with that. Bix is his love. He doesn't care about you, Jyn.
But I can reconcile that a little bit because he thinks Bix left him, like Bix is done with him. So not that he like has moved on fully, but he's like, all right.
I don't really have a problem with it. I'm just emotionally attached to their couple.
Oh, me too.
Versus Jyn, I was like, at this point, I'm like, get her out of here.
Yeah. And I, in my head, when I was watching Rogue One, it was like Andor liked her a little bit more than just the average person because she kind of had the same mindset as he did. Like they aligned in a lot of ways. So, but yeah, like they didn't make it a relationship in the movie. So good.
Thank goodness. Yeah. I like that. I like that they kind of introduced the fact that he's guided by the Force, because he has that lady that shows up. And I didn't think Tony Gilroy was going to bring in Force stuff, but he kind of did with her. She's a Force healer and she heals his shoulder and she thanks him because she's like, you've given me clear purpose. Like I see there is an end game here and you're a big part of it. And he's like, it freaks him out. He's like, I don't want to talk to this lady anymore. I'm not about this.
And his line, something like, "Oh, I'm just really lucky, and I've almost played all my hand, basically." But then the audience kind of knows, oh, the Force is around this dude.
Yeah, which is cool because it's like he's not a Force user, but the Force is still guiding him. It's a cool way to introduce the Force into this show. It's a great way, honestly. It was really cool. And even Luthen has a moment where when they're about to rescue Mon Mothma and he needs somebody and he shows up and he's like, why is it you? You're always here. Why are you always here? What is going on? And it's like a real quick line, but it's like Luthen realizing like something is happening. Like this doesn't compute. Why are you always here when I need you? Yeah. And I think Kleya says something too when he opens the door and it's him and she's like, of course it's you. It's like everyone's realizing like he is a force of nature.
Yeah.
Or a force of the force. Boo.
Don't laugh at that.
I also like that he went to Gorman and unlike Luthen, he was not ready to sacrifice that planet. He was like, they're not ready. I don't want to. He's like, they're going to get destroyed. And he's like, do you want it to burn? And he's like, well, if it burns, it'll burn brightly. Like I want that. That'll push the rebellion forward. Yeah. And he's not willing to sacrifice that. And it kind of just shows the split that him and Luthen have in their mentalities kind of after that, really, which is cool because it makes him more of a hero than Luthen, even though they're cut from the same cloth.
And they're both necessary to get everything done.
But I think Luthen kind of maybe even knew it might have been heading that way anyways. But he, regardless of the outcome,
he did know. That's why Andor was like, I don't want to be a part of this.
But regardless of whatever happened on Gorman, it would serve Luthen's purposes. If it was a massacre or if it was a solid rebel front, then.
I also think it's an interesting choice to leave his sister unfound.
Dude.
They just dropped that. But I think it's a good choice. Because again, if you got, maybe I should plug this interview that Spencer sent me, but Tony also talked about, he decided that the loss of his sister was a good motivating element of him being a hero and always going back for people. Like he goes back for Bix and Kleya and Will and a few other people of like, I don't want to leave them behind like my sister got left behind. And I'm like, that is a good point.
One of the podcasts I listened to, they played several clips from maybe the podcast. And Tony says like, if we followed that storyline, it would have just kind of been very cliche, very cheesy, and I didn't want to do that. And so it was better to like have that unresolved than to follow it through. I think that's really good from a director that can have that foresight, especially since it's lacking in all of the other Star Wars shows.
Yes, so true. Yeah, and it really, you don't miss that arc either. Really, it took until the season ended for me to be like, oh yeah, that thread never got closed.
Yeah, you don't even think about it at all.
No. But in a way, it kind of started the whole thing, so it's just kind of interesting.
Yeah, I do. In the first season, though, I was like, when are they gonna like finish this plot line?
Yeah. All right, is Andor a top 5 Star Wars character for y'all now? Do y'all want to hear my list and y'all think about it?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I've got number 1, Darth Vader. Number 2, Luke Skywalker. Number 3, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Number 4, Han Solo. And then 5, Andor for me now.
Really?
Yeah. I'd put him ahead of Yoda. The 6 is Yoda, 7's Palpatine, 8 is Ahsoka, 9 is Leia, 10 is Maul, and then I guess 11 might be Mando.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think he's in my top 5. He's
That's
really
fair.
good character, but
I'm trying to think of my top 5 now because now I'm trying to think of. I think I'll just spitball real fast.
Yeah.
I have no particular order, but I'm just gonna go for now. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Okay.
Ahsoka. Dude, I don't know how you have Ahsoka so low. That's crazy to me. But
I think her season actually kind of hurt her.
Oh no, her show for real. Hurt
Yeah, it hurt her.
That she's fantastic.
Yeah, she's great.
That show was okay.
These are all great characters. Like that top 11, I'm locked in when they're on screen.
Yeah, he might be top 5 because Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ahsoka, Maul. I love Maul.
You got Maul at 3?
No, I'm just trying to think of
characters.
Yeah, no particular order that I really enjoyed.
I think I'd put K2SO above Andor in my.
Really?
Yeah.
You do love. We asked for favorite moments, and you said K2SO playing a poker game.
My favorite character, and this is not his on-screen appearances, but from the books, is Grand Admiral Thrawn. He's my favorite Star Wars character.
Thrawn is great. They do him dirty in Ahsoka. That's another.
They do.
And Rebels, like he's good in Rebels, but I always got annoyed because it's always like, this is part of my plan. And then the Rebels get away and he's like, well, crap. How many this is part of the plan can it be before you're just actually just losing, Thrawn?
Right.
Yeah.
I'll give Andor top 10.
Yeah,
Solid
top 10.
for sure.
Top 10. He's number 5 for me. So I just was interested because afterwards I was like, I loved that. And if you ask me, could I have more Andor or more Yoda? There's a good chance I'm going to pick more Andor.
Oh, agreed. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I would agree too, because I think the more mystery to Yoda, the better character he is.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, even like Ahsoka for y'all, I'm like, I don't want more Ahsoka. I want more Andor. Give me more Andor.
Did you watch all of Clone Wars or anything?
I did, yeah. All of Clone Wars. The end of Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Whew, I think me and Jeff talked about it on the podcast. It is top tier Star Wars. It is so good.
Next to Andor, that's like the best. Like
season 7 of Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. The Order 66 in that is just absolutely incredible.
Order 66 might be my favorite Star Wars scene.
It's so tragic.
Like, give it to me from every angle.
All right, let's keep talking about characters in the Andor show. But man, I love Andor. They did a great job of making me care about a character, and I didn't have that. Honestly, he was like 5th on my favorite of the Rogue One cast, and now he's absolutely number 1. But
so we talked about Andor, we talked about Biggs, Mon Mothma.
Oh, let's talk about Mon Mothma.
Dude, she's the GOAT. I'm telling you.
The GOAT.
She's the GOAT, dude. Her acting ability. And just her face, just actually like not even using words, just expressing everything. You can just read it on her brazy. And like she is losing a lot. Like Luthen was like a stormtrooper type guy or whatever, right? But she's like way up there in the life that she's losing.
Yeah, you have to have people like that for rebellions to work.
Yeah. And the way the show does a good job of like has this much authority, power, and money and all this influence, and then she's losing it all. And so she has this status, but she feels like watching her story, whenever it cuts to her, I feel like it's like claustrophobic.
In a cage.
Yeah, like I feel like I'm being squeezed. And I hate that feeling, but they did such a good job of it. And her like showing that was why I liked her the most.
She probably has the most double-lived of them all. She has to have the good kind of at least not anti-imperial face for the Senate. I mean, she does kind of sneak a little anti-imperial in there, but then and for her family, and then she has a whole other life of supporting this rebellion financially. And that's a great word, the claustrophobic. Like it was just, you can feel that so much in her character. And then when she can finally leave the Senate, it's like, she can just do this one thing now.
Yeah. But at the same time, you're like, she left the Senate and she left everything. She had the most to lose, and she left it all. She left her money. She left her house. She left her family. She literally leaves her husband and her child for the good of a rebellion. Like she sells the scene where she's like talking to her daughter before she's about to get married, and she's like, you can leave this all. You don't have to do this. And then her daughter says, I wish you were drunk right now. Oh my gosh. Just a gut punch. But also the show does such a good job because you understand what the daughter's feeling too. You're like, Mom, you pushed me into this and you want me to bail right now, right before? Like this was like, in a lot of ways, this was your idea.
Yeah.
And I want you to be here to give me support and back me up before my big day. And here you are trying to get me to bail. After you've been pushing me the whole time through this. Like, what an awful thing to do as a mom. And she's an awful mom because she's sacrificing it for the rebellion. And it's just like, what a way to make a character. Like, such duality there. She sold her daughter to like a crime syndicate so that she could make money for the rebellion. It's incredible. And then the whole show starts off with her best friend who has been her supporter and helped her like flow the money from her accounts to the rebellion. Yeah, Takoma threatens that he's going to tell Skull about the whole operation. And it's because his life is falling apart and he sees her throwing this extravagant wedding after begging him for money. And he's going, are you kidding me? Like, really? You're gonna have the most expensive wedding ever, and I'm over here like dying trying to support you.
And then he gets whacked for it.
And then he
which is
gets
great.
whacked, and Luthen just pops around the corner like, "Hey, do I need to kill this guy?" And she's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa!" He's like, "I will do it. I'll do it.
Yeah.
I think I need to do it." And she's like, "That wasn't even in my mind." And he says something like, "Well, how good for you? You know, like that's
Yeah.
great for you. This is what I do. I kill people."
Yeah.
And then when she realizes, yeah, he's gonna have to die, and she just gets absolutely hammered and dances. it's
The dancing
hilarious.
part.
Yeah, it's so funny.
She's just raving, dude. She's just
Yeah.
going to.
Like
Yeah.
I don't want to think about how much I'm losing. I don't want to think about how my best friend from childhood, who I would probably be married to if I didn't have an arranged marriage, is about to get killed because of me. You know.
And then fast forward to whenever she's getting extracted from the Senate, but she finds out her like Senate aide was a Luthen guy. Like there's like no one she can trust, and she's
Yeah.
just like she
Yeah.
feels all alone. I mean, her
Yeah.
acting right there. I was just like, dude, I feel you.
Yeah.
Because she's scared that Luthen will kill her at that point. Too.
Right,
She gets
right.
like genuinely scared of him. Like, oh, you're gonna kill me now. Like I'm the next one on the list.
Yeah.
She's seen the trail
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I was like, oh gosh, is Luthen gonna kill this lady? Even though I
You know she's.
You
I know,
yeah.
but in the moment, I'm like, holy crap.
And then like Cassian is the one that's supposed to rescue her, and she's like, she's not gonna trust Cassian, and then she's gonna get offed by the ISB people.
Yeah, that was tense too, but
Yeah.
not as tense because you know she survives.
Well, yeah, Cassian survives too, but
Uh-huh. That's why I don't think that scene works as well as it could have. Because like I was feeling it and I was invested, but at the same time I know they're both surviving. If I didn't know, this show would have been even elevated because then it'd have been like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, they're gonna die. Like it's gonna
Yeah.
end.
but that's the brilliant thing that you can still feel that even though
Yes.
you know what happens to these
Yeah,
characters.
no, it's
Some of them.
brilliant.
Yeah, it'd be nice to never watch Rogue One and be able to watch these for the first time and
Yeah.
then go into Rogue One for the first time.
Oh.
That'd be so nice.
Yeah,
That would be the end would be so brutal. though.
Stressed.
it would have been amazing.
My blood pressure would be so high.
Yeah. Other characters we want to talk about? We can talk Saw Gerrera. This is one we haven't talked about much. Saw is so strange because
Huffing that gas.
he's huffing that gas. I always wondered why he needed oxygen, but we learned it's just him getting high all the time because it makes him think of his dead sister.
Oh my God.
Poor guy. But man, his paranoia serves him well. He finds the rat and shoots that guy. Did you think he was going to shoot Will? Because I 100%
No,
thought he was going to shoot Will.
100%, yeah.
That was
I knew that other guy was the mole though.
You did? You caught on?
Yeah.
Because
When Saul asked, or when he asked Saul for the location,
the
they
exact
were gonna hit,
location. Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
like,
at that
oh,
point, I
this
was like,
guy.
that's a weird question to ask or whatever. But I get so dumb when I watch shows. Like all my critical thinking goes out the window. So I'm just experiencing everything in the moment. So I always fall for that stuff.
That's awesome. I wish I was that way. This time it worked for me though. I wasn't catching it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's gonna shoot Will, and then he shot the guy. He's like, well, it's your job now, and you just really buy it because Saul is so crazy.
Yeah.
I think Saul's a good like image of kind of a little bit of the opposite of Luthen. Like Saul is totally military, totally like wants to do things the most radical, but doesn't want to trust anybody else. And it's not like completely opposite Luthen, but it's like kind of the other side of the
I
rebellion.
think Saul is just Luthen, but if Luthen was crazy, Luthen's so calculated that he can act like Saul would, but without being dumb about it. Whereas I think Saul is like the exact opposite of Mon Mothma, who is like, hey, I'm going to make sure things are done the right way by the book. I care about these people. Saul is like, hey, whatever I got to do, I'm doing it. And I'm going to huff gas while I do it. He's cool though, because he's like for Disney, they really latched onto him and said, you are going to be our connective tissue for everything we make. Because he has talked to Obi-Wan and Anakin, Ahsoka, Captain Rex, Cal Kestis, Ezra and Kanan, Luthen, Andor, and like other people. You know, he's just, if you're in that era, you're going to meet Saul. He's going to pop up.
Yeah.
And we basically know his whole story through Clone Wars and Rebels and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I wish they had a little more of him in Andor. But like you said, like he's not a main character. He's just a connective tissue. So he's just going to pop in and out.
I like how he goes in Rogue One. I think it's cool.
Yeah,
Where
Rogue One
he
for sure.
detaches his gas and is like dies by the Death Star. And it's like he was always destined to die by the Death Star. I love it.
Yeah, that's how he wanted to go out.
We talked about a lot about Luthen and Kleya. I liked the episode dedicated to them, where it was just their backstory.
Yeah, I was glad we got that.
Yeah,
I mean, it kind of knew that we'd probably get it, but
yeah, it really expanded his relationship with her, and you got to see that he was a sergeant in the Imperial Army, and that army was absolutely wiping out Kleya's homeworld. It almost seems like guilt motivated him when he sees what happened to Kleya and his role in all of it, and how he turned her militant. It's almost like every time he sees her, it pushes him to keep going because he's like, I know what the Empire has done. I've got to destroy the Empire. Whereas Kleya is just like almost seems to be pushing Luthen to be more extreme in his rebellion, to be more calculated, even though Luthen is trying to like keep her from going down his path where, you know, he's like, hey, you haven't killed anybody yet. You can still not. And she's like, oh no, I'm going to kill him.
In both seasons, seeing them both like go back and forth, and like when one's feeling weak, the other one pushes them.
Yeah.
And they both do that to each other. I like that dynamic a lot better than like him always encouraging her or pushing her.
Right.
Like, even he has some spots and she's like, no. She checks him basically.
And he's like, why are you putting mics on everything? Like, I can't keep up with it all. And she's like, well, if I don't do that, we have no information. So like, what do you want me to do? You said it was a good idea. Don't be blaming me.
Yeah.
You know, they fight. It's not like a daughter-father relationship at all, which is kind of not, I wouldn't say at all, but very much not.
Yeah.
At the end, when she like kisses him goodbye, it's very interesting because like, I kind of wanted him to go out like Saul did. You know, I wish he'd have gone on a ship in a blaze of glory, but instead he went out exactly like he thought he would, dying quietly on a table. Makes sense.
Yeah. That whole scene of her like going to the hospital felt like a video game mission.
Yeah.
Like James Bond or like Splinter Cell or something.
Hitman.
Hitman, yeah.
I love that episode. It was great.
Yeah.
Did y'all think she was going to save him or kill him?
I knew she was going to kill him.
Yeah, she was going to kill him.
She couldn't allow
the
information to get out, and he was practically dead
and
anyway.
He wanted her to kill him because he tried to kill himself, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like her last mission from him.
Yeah, that was a good episode.
Yeah, those two characters are great this season and last season, but Kleya really stepped up this season. We haven't talked much about the bad guys. You want to talk about the bad guys? Dude, all right, so Dedra. Very interesting character. All the bad guys are so interesting in this show. It is so
good. So well written.
Good. So like Dedra moving up the Empire ladder. She even uses Syril, who she has a really creepy love relationship with him.
Yeah.
You know, but she does like he even defends Syril against his mom. That scene was so weird.
I could feel the awkwardness in that scene. I was like, oh.
Anytime they were on screen together, you could feel the awkwardness.
Oh yeah.
Like even when they had like that short time together, and she's like, "Turn off the lights," and you're like,
so like, yeah, she was like 1 hour. It's like 1 hour.
No, dude, her. Did you? Okay, this may just be me, but were y'all like kind of low key rooting for her in the season 1?
Yeah,
like climb the ranks, and then the second season, I'm like, someone's got to kill this woman.
Someone's
got to stop this woman.
Yeah, anytime Andor and the Gorman had her in the sights, I'm like, shoot, you gotta shoot, come on. But yeah, she's like super competent, which is like really, it's fun to watch competent people in shows. And she's only shaken when Syril grabs her entire neck with his hands. I was like, holy crap. Yeah. And when he dies, like those are the only 2 times you see her really like shaken. And also when she is faced with Krennic.
Yeah, he's like pressing on her
presses
head,
his finger on her head. It's so. I'm like, dude, Krennic is such a good bad guy too. We'll talk about him.
He's way better in Andor than he was in Rogue One, in my opinion. Yeah, I thought he was more competent.
I mean, dude, I thought he was great in Rogue One.
He's great.
But explain. Yeah, like what do you think?
Like I feel like in Rogue One, he's a little more like dumb. You know, like he keeps losing. I feel like a little more. And then in Andor, I feel like he's like the guy who's fixing everything or having to fix everything, persona-wise. Maybe not like an actual story.
Yeah.
But like he's scarier, in my opinion, in Andor than he is in Rogue One.
Yeah, and I think that's intentional, though. Like, I think it is showing, like, the big fish, little fish idea.
Yeah.
You know, like, to these people, Krennic is the big, bad, scary one. but to Krennic, it's Tarkin and Vader that he has to report to, and then the Emperor.
Yeah,
And so
he's a small fish in Rogue One.
Yes, he's a
and
small
the big
fish in Rogue One. Yep.
Yeah.
And the big fish here.
Yeah.
So it just
Well-
makes him look more competent. But in this the whole time, you're like, no, he's not competent. Like even Lio Partagaz is like, hey, you should be done by now. Like, what the
Yeah.
heck are you doing?
Yeah.
So
Well, I think you see that like he's like the competent Imperial, but it's starting to slip, and like the things under him are kind of starting to make mistakes, and he can't quite, tie it up.
rein it in. Yeah.
And then follow it to Rogue One, like it just builds and builds, and Galen Erso gets his message out or whatever, and that's a huge mistake. And so things are just continuously slipping away from Krennic's grasp.
Mhm.
And so I think it pretty well shows his development. But just in Rogue One, you see it where he's like really trying to claw back, but Vader and Tarkin come in, and it's basically over.
Yeah.
But I even loved him in Rogue One, even when he was.
I did too.
Because I thought his acting was great, and like
Yeah.
he was like a bombastic Imperial that also thought he was more important than he was. And I love how Tarkin, even in Rogue One, it like really ties back to Andor because he says like, the recent security breaches in your under your command has really shown that you can't be in charge of this anymore. And Tarkin like sees a way to like sweep everyone under the rug and take control of this.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so cool because that's exactly what Krennic is doing to everybody else.
Right,
Yeah,
and
great.
that's kind of what I was talking about. It adds to that because before you think of like, if you didn't watch Andor, you're like, okay, he let one message get out
Yeah.
from this secret base.
Yeah,
That's
but
not
he
that
made
big.
the whole Death Star. Yeah. Yeah.
But then you see all the little things in Rogue One, and you're like, oh, that's a lot of mess.
Yeah.
The Imperial like desire to like climb the ladder and just screw the guys in front of you to just throw them under the bus. And you see that through season 1 and 2 as she climbs the ladder, Dedra.
Yeah.
And then in season 2, like that guy throws her under the bus in the hospital scenes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's all Dedra's fault. We're good now. So now we can move up the chain.
Yeah.
Like that mentality is
It's so well done. I
like
love
I
it.
think there's something like all the villains essentially die by other villains more than like the good guys or something crazy like that, which is wild.
Yeah, so she was great, and it's interesting that she survives. She just ends up in prison. She's in prison making the second Death Star. It's crazy.
Survives.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, it is her ending is tragic, even though she's like horrible.
Evil.
It's tragic.
Yeah.
She ends up being in the place where she fought so hard.
The real tragedy is Syril.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Hold on real quick with Dedra. Did you guys, to me, like I see a little bit of like at the very last scene when she's in the prison with the like electric floors or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Do you guys think she is like already contemplating like, should I step out on these floors? Because I kind of see that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be very Imperial of her, I feel like. To
Uh-huh.
just
Maybe they just had too many suicides already. They were like, we can't show another one.
Yeah. Well, because Partagaz, he shoots
Partagaz.
himself because he's like,
Dude.
Dude,
I'm
Partagaz was
just
so good, man.
Dude, I
Such
love
a-
him so much.
Every time he was on, he was great. He
Oh.
always seemed in control and with a plan, and then cracks start to show, and you can see it in his face. And he's like, just make something up, guys. We should be able to control this.
And then you see him listening to Nimic's
Yeah,
manifesto,
Yes.
and you're like, he's like, oh, it's over.
He says it just keeps spreading, doesn't it?
Yes, like you can see the hope leaving him.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
I've lost, like we've lost. There's no way to contain it. Oh, beautiful.
And then he offs himself, and the guy outside's like, yeah, I know this is gonna happen. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't want to face the Emperor. He would rather just commit suicide.
Yeah.
Which is also, I love that they didn't show the Emperor because it's just like he's this scary guy in the distance.
mhm.
It's like Krennic is as high up the chain as we get. These
Yeah.
people don't even think Darth Vader exists.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah. I like the little interaction that Krennic and who said Radagast, which is not
Partagaz.
hard. Yeah. Whenever they interact or whatever, they
Lord of
just,
the Rings.
they like kind of give each other like this, like in a conversation real quick, like this nod of like good luck to each other. Essentially, like,
Yeah,
I couldn't stop him. He says something like that to him, and I was like, dang, there's history there.
Yeah.
That they don't even
Krennic,
address.
Krennic calls him Leo. He doesn't call him
Yeah.
Partagaz.
It's
He
like
calls him
they're
Leo.
like
They were
friends or
buddies.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like,
They
I
don't
can't
get into it
protect.
at all.
He says, I can't protect you. And that's when he says, like, you should have been done a long time ago. And they both are like, well, good luck to both of us then. And then they both end up dying. It's crazy. They both know like this is not going well for us. But let's talk about Syril. I think he's the only bad guy. Syril. I think in the first episode, Spencer, I think we called him Cereal because they didn't say his name much in season 1.
And he was eating cereal.
And I was like, that's funny to call him Cereal and then have him eat cereal. But Syril, talk about tragedy, man. So I kind of want to hear y'all's thoughts on this. Why do y'all think he was in this show at all? Because like, I always wondered what his purpose was until the end. And then it all came together for me.
In season 1, to me, he just kind of felt like a thorn. Like he was the opposite of what you said about Dedra, Spencer. I was like, in season 1, I was like, get rid of I want this guy to be gone. Like he's causing too much issues. But then in season 2, I was really rooting for him. But I kind of think he was just there to, I don't know, to be like the other side of the coin to certain characters. I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like I don't know how to explain it. Like he's like the sheep. Like he's the sheep that just blindly, he's like represents this certain people group or whatever. Like they just blindly follow these things and get manipulated and they believe in this thing blindly and then they become victims of it, a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. Like he's a really interesting character and it's all for nothing.
Yeah. And I think that's the point. I think you're right. It's like, it's to show how the Empire ate up its normal everyday citizens. Yeah. He believed in the Empire and it just destroyed him without care. And it's like that was the Empire's legacy, was just its citizens destroyed themselves, whether they got destroyed by the Empire or by joining it. It was like it was just a purely evil environment created by a Sith Lord.
Yeah.
and he was so bought in. He believed the Empire was doing good.
He always thought he was doing the right thing.
He wanted to work his way up.
Because he was a principled person. Like his principles never changed. He was just so blinded and manipulated into doing the things that he did. So in a lot of ways, I felt like he was a victim of a lot of situations, and he just didn't know any better. Like
it felt like he was one season away from being a rebel.
Yeah, not like even a season, like a moment.
Yeah. Yeah, but like it would have been like next season he'd have worked his way into the rebellion and been a good guy, kind of like in Rebels what they did with what was his name? Sideburns guy. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yep.
And so it's like, man, the fact that it all hinged on it looked like for a sec, is he gonna join the rebellion? Because he always thought he was doing the right thing. From the beginning, he was tracking Andor because he shot 2 cops and he didn't know that the cops, you kind of asked for it. He just thought, hey, here's a criminal killing my friends, I guess. And then it leads him down this path into the Empire. And so when he's being used, he thinks he's just being like a honeypot for the rebellion. But in the end, he's actually leading to their genocide. Yeah. And he realizes it and he snaps and he grabs Dedra by the neck and he's like, I'm out. Like, this is not what I wanted. I am a man of principle. He walks out there and he's like realizing like I have caused it. Look at what is happening. Like, this is not what I wanted at all. And then he sees Andor and he like focuses all his rage, everything that's happened. And it's like, oh, here is my nemesis, the guy that started all of this for me. It's his fault. Yeah. It's his fault that I have gone on this path and he's not blaming anyone but Andor. Beats the crap out of him, wins the fight. Andor says, who are you? And he's like, are you kidding me? Like, you're my nemesis. And then he gets shot in the head. And that's the end.
That was the most heartbreaking thing because his whole mission was Andor. Like, that's all he thought about. And Andor was like, who are you? And he's like, wait, what?
Yeah, I was like, there's part of me was like, oh, he's dying here. But in the off chance that he somehow gets redeemed in some cool way, I was like, I'd be happy with that. And then like as I'm thinking that, he gets killed, I'm like, oh frick, like, oh gosh. It's so sudden.
Yeah. And I love that the show does that because like it's like we don't need another redemption arc. I mean, we can, and I would have been here for it, but I think it is more shocking to have him die and him be the consequences of his actions. Even though he was kind of pushed into all this stuff, he was still doing it. He's not entirely absent of fault.
Yeah, because like you said, like he's representing essentially millions of people who have done the exact same thing he is doing
Yeah.
and has been chewed up and spit out by the Empire.
Yeah.
So
Really, really good character. Really good writing. It's crazy how they stack all these things. It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
I aspire to be that good. All right. Anything else y'all want to talk about? I think we've hit a lot. It's an
I'm
amazing
trying to think of
show.
any like portions of the show we really didn't talk about too much the first 3 or 4 episodes where they're in like the fields or whatever, you know.
Oh yeah, with
Oh.
Bix and poor.
Brasso?
Oh yeah,
Brasso?
Brasso died.
Yeah.
He deserved better. He was such a bro. Love that guy.
Yeah, because it was like, in my opinion,
Such a
that
true
was
friendship.
just a setup for the rest of the show.
Mhm.
But it had a couple good moments. But yeah, it was. I wasn't trying to bring it up to like say how good it was.
Talk
or
about it.
I was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like, it was the weaker point. You can tell because people don't talk about it as much.
Yeah. We talked about it a little bit with Bix and
Yeah.
the Empire's thumb and like trying to have sexual assault in a Star Wars show is crazy.
I did like that, like they really hyped Cassian up to be this like great pilot, and then he tries to steal that TIE fighter, and he's like, I can't fly this thing.
Yeah,
He's like yelling at Luthen. He's like, I'm upside down for 3 days.
I also think it kind of adds to the idea that Luthen's kind of falling apart too, though, because he has everything so planned out, and this one kind of falls through, and it's Andor that saves him from it being a disaster.
Yeah.
Which is another reason that Andor is showing like leadership skills and like how much he's grown between seasons.
Yeah.
I want to rant a little bit about how much Disney Plus sucks with so many commercials. Holy cow, dude. I was hating it so much. You get this intense show was constantly getting interrupted by daggum college and like insurance commercials and oh my gosh, just like I couldn't handle it.
But
They were
you
like
should
2-minute commercials.
You should know, listeners, that Brett is a self-proclaimed anti-TV guy, so he's never had to deal with commercials.
I do not watch a lot of TV. It occurred to me like the last TV show that I really watched with commercials was like Nickelodeon shows, like that far back. Like I do not watch. That's the point of streaming, was so that you didn't have to watch commercials. And now it's just back to being a worse version of cable. It is just so frustrating. And
100%.
five in these hour-long shows, not even an hour sometimes, 5 commercials is way too many. Absolutely too many. Thank goodness I bought the DVD for the first Andor season so I can get rid of this subscription as soon as this is done, because it is bullcrap. It is so frustrating. I can't do it anymore.
Hey, I watched several episodes that I don't know what happened, but they didn't give me any ads, and I was like, "Yeah,
man." Well, they want $20 for ad-free Disney Plus, and I'm like, you can stuff it. I am not doing that.
The whole streaming stuff, it has like reverted back to being worse than cable. Essentially,
yes,
you're going to be paying more if you're paying for everything with no commercials. All the streaming services, you're paying way more than you did for cable.
Oh my goodness! Even just trying to rewatch some episodes for this, I'm like, I can't scroll because every time I scroll, I have to watch 2 more minutes of commercials.
Either rewind or fast forward. Yeah,
and no one service has near enough stuff for them to be charging what they charge.
No.
Or like at least watchable stuff.
These morons created this service without Netflix has never once been in the positive. They just overspend. It's like, how does this exist? And now they're trying to exactly. And now they're trying to come back on it and like add commercials and like find ways to make money, because their initial subscription model, they realized, people just unsubscribe when they're done watching TV shows.
But they're going to lose more people that don't want ads and, are just tired of it.
Ads make money. So that's why cable existed. That's why, that's how sports work. That's how everything works. And it's like, okay, don't make me pay a subscription service, like a subscription fee, if you're going to throw ads in it. It's such bullcrap.
I don't know if it was like region targeted or something, but some of my commercials were in Spanish, and I was like, this is hilarious.
Like we're wasting everybody's time here. The ads time, my time, Disney Plus is streaming, just absolute stupidity.
Yeah.
But hey, I mean, whatever it takes to get a show this high quality, whatever. Maybe next time I'll pay the money for it, but so frustrating. I'm just so sad that we're never going to get another season of Andor.
I know.
I'm like, and Tony Gilroy said, I'm done. I'm not doing any more
really?
Star Wars. And I'm just like, man.
I want, like, some of the characters that survived. I want more, like Kleya. I want more of her.
Dude,
yeah.
100%.
It's sad we're never going to get writing like this again. And I'm like, I've seen some of Tony Gilroy's other stuff, and I liked it, but I didn't think it was like incredible like this.
I mean, he did all the Bourne movies, and those are great. If you like that kind of movie.
Some of it, yeah.
I just at this point I hope they just do hard reset Star Wars and jump 100 years in the future, or they go back to Old Republic kind of stuff. Because
well, you can keep dreaming, Spencer.
I know. I'm just one thing I've all this.
Heard that I like is whatever they do, they just need to pick an area, a time period, and just stay in that time period for a little bit. And none of this like jumping around. Like I can't hardly keep track of what era we're in, like what show before what.
And you're a Star Wars fan, Yeah.
Danny's
always like, I have no idea when this is happening.
Yeah.
If she watches Star Wars with me.
One last thing I want to bring up is both of you have watched Rogue One. Like right after, right? Or pretty shortly after.
Yeah.
And you guys, do you think it made the movie better for you?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Same. There was one scene in particular when it's pretty close to the end of Rogue One, and Cassian is like rounds up a bunch of rebels to help Jyn, and they're gonna just go out on their own and go get the Death Star plans or whatever. And Cassian gives this speech, and he's like, "Dude, I've sacrificed so much, and now that like we've seen all the stuff he's kind of sacrificed, that speech just blew me away. I mean, I was crying, I had tears. It was such a good speech. So that's the last thing I wanted to bring up is just that speech in Rogue One is incredible. Go watch it if you haven't.
It's all good. It's great stuff. Thank y'all for joining on this episode. I love talking about this stuff. Man, I hope we're back on singing the praises of some more Star Wars in the future. Maybe not 3. Maybe hopefully it doesn't take 3 more years again. But
what's out? What's coming out? Or like what's anything coming out recent or soon? I should say.
I think the next thing on the docket is the Mandalorian and Grogu
movie or whatever.
Movie, yeah.
They're doing the Visions Volume 3, the animated short things.
Okay. Yeah. Some of those are good.
Yeah. What I wait for is my brother watches them, and then he tells me which ones are good, and those are the ones that I watch.
I mean, they're like 10-minute little things, bro. Just watch them all.
I don't have time for that crap, especially with these ads. No, sir. I ain't watching. As I say, I'm not watching 7 minutes of ads for a 10-minute show. All right. Thank y'all for listening, and see you next time. Star Wars is back, and now it's dead again. So. Later.